Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Davey T here again for another episode of our FSS Chatback. This week, we are talking about syndicates. We're going to talk about calibres. We're going to talk about the things that I've been up to this week. Yeah, pretty much. And I'm not going to try... Look, I'm going to be honest. I could easily fall into the trap of using this platform to put all my gripes and all my wares and all my stress onto people in regards to my frustrations with the shooting community at the moment and my frustration with the deer management side of things and the ecology community and stuff. I try not to do that. I'm trying to make me come to you with some reasonable advice. First of all, what did I get up to this week? Well, I've had a bit of fun this week. I went and tested some new 223 Fox and loads, which seemed to be very, very good. I'm looking at the Spears 50 grain TNT for foxes. It seems to be very explosive. For you guys out there that are coming up to lambing, it might be something that you want to think about. Start thinking about what loads, how accurate your fox and caliber is, or fox and rifle is. Maybe look into whether you need night vision or thermal, or whether you're still doing it with a lamp and scope, or whether you're just a daytime pest controller. It is that time of year. Lambing is pretty much on us. Some guys have had lambs since Christmas, and my lambs are pretty much starting in the next week, so I am all set for putting a little bit of effort into that. My chosen caliber, I'll probably use the 22LR, the 243 and the 223 to do my kind of foxing stuff. I've still got deer management side of things to do as well, so I will always have the kind of 270 sitting in the into the back of the truck when I'm out and about. And that leads me to the point for you guys out there who are going for your first firearm certificate. Now, I did speak a bit last week about the process and how things are. Now, caliber choices. Traditionally, and this leads us into the first topic about calibers. Traditionally, people would go in and ask for a 243, 270 for deer. And maybe a rimfire caliber like a 17 HMR, 22LR. And some of the guys who want to do foxing as well, they might ask for a 22250 or a 223. Now, it's getting harder and harder to get the calibers that you want or get the rifles that you want. For us in the industry, we seem to manage to get what we want when we ask for it because we genuinely have a reason for doing that. For you guys out there who might be out just shooting foxes or out shooting roe deer or muntjac or whatever, if you're below the border, or if you might only have the choice of having one rifle. Now, there is a bridge in that gap now that wasn't traditionally. You know, we now have the 6mm ranges from the 6mm BRs, the 6mm Creedmoors, 6mm variants of all different types and shapes and sizes, and that covers right up to deer in Scotland now because you're allowed to use a minimum 80 grain caliber. We've also got the 6.5 variants as well, and I'm not talking about the 6.5 Swede or 55 that has been out for like forever. We're talking about the newer variants, the 6.5 Creedmoor, the 6.5 by 47 Lapua, the 6.5 PRC, which inadvertently is actually the replacement for the 270. So caliber choices are an absolute minefield right now. So I am actually planning on getting... I've got permission on my ticket now to get a 6.5 PRC, and that will probably replace or coincide with my 270 in the future. My 270 is getting to the point where it's probably going to need a new barrel, and so this will allow me to carry on doing what I need to do. So think about your caliber choices and ammo choices and your bullet choices, and for you guys coming up for the foxes, it will actually be very good for you to kind of look into all that, especially as everything is so expensive right now. I mean, it's unbelievably expensive right now. And even rifles are getting up there and very expensive. Now, I had a wee shot of the new Seiko 90 and 270 the other week there, and I loved it. It was a really good gun, but at 2,850 quid, I'm not sure I can afford to do that. You might be able to, but I can't. So that is, you kind of look at what caliber you want, do your research, because there's so much out there now. As I said, the 6.5 PRC is a far better round now than the 270 was, and the 270 has been around since 1925. Talking about a really old caliber, we're talking 1800s, I think 1894 or 92 or something like that is when the 22LR was first created. Now that, to this day, is still going strong, and lots of foxes and small ground pest control are being done with that every year. The 22LR is a fantastic round, and I had the pleasure the other day to do a bit of plinking out to 200 yards. I started off at 168 yards and then went out to 200 yards as a video on YouTube, and it is fun. You know, you can sit there and plink for a couple of hours, fire a couple of hundred rounds through it, and it's not going to do any damage to your rifle. You're not burning barrels, you're just you're denting primers, as we say, and you're just hitting them and dropping cases, and you're hitting targets and getting used to it. Now you can use that basic round, that 22LR, that over 100-year caliber, to hone your shooting skills, to get used to windage. Now, I was doing a mil and a half hold to the left because of the wind and the rain the other day there, and I was dropping round after round after round onto the plate, you know, and I must have been doing it in about a 4 or 5 inch group. So that is phenomenal for a rifle that is 0 to 50 yards and basically only really has a kind of accurate range out to 50, maybe to 100 yards for depending on the rifle. So get yourself a little 22LR and get yourself plinking away. It's fantastic. I had a bit of fun the other day there. Now, I'm conscious that these podcasts, I only give a half an hour to try and fit all the information in. So any questions you've got in regards to calibers or anything like that, you can always hit me up on YouTube. I always answer all my comments if it's relevant. Excuse me, gotta have a drink. Now, this is non-alcoholic, so I don't drink, so it's just Pepsi Max or a variant of that type thing. I can't really say. I'm not going to brand whatever it is, but it's just Coke, Cola, or whatever it is. I don't know. I have no idea. Think about your calibers for foxing and your 22LR. Hundreds of foxes have been shot with 22LR. I used to shoot foxes only with the 22LR because it was quiet, it was unobtrusive, but the only thing was I couldn't get distance. I think my longest fox kill with a 22LR is like 75 yards, you know, so just bear in mind it has its limitations. But the bigger 22 centre fires are very good, 250, 223, whatever. So, as I said, I open the comments. I understand I try and fit so much information into a half an hour show, and it gets a bit frustrating for those guys that want that just a little bit more. But I'm not ready to do hour-long podcasts every week yet, because although this podcast may only last for 30 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever I decide to finish at, it takes a couple of hours to edit it and get, well, not so much edit the podcast and the volume side of things, but get all the, upload it to YouTube and do all the kind of Buzzsprout stuff and all the podcasty type stuff that I'm all learning to just get back into. So any questions on calibers, I will. And if you want a show solely on that and talking about different calibers that I use, different calibers that everybody else uses, then let me know in the comments and I'll answer your questions. Likewise, if it comes to scopes or night vision and stuff like that, if there's anything particular you want to ask about, I will discuss it on my podcast. Just fire them into the comments, send me a quick messenger or whatever, or put it on a Facebook one of the Facebook advertisements or whatever, is great. So the other thing I've been working on this week, which is a big deal, is every year I manage syndicates, deer management syndicates. Now, every year they get sold very easily. They're not that hard to sell. It's not like I'm giving a hard sell. Most of the time, if guys want a tire kick or whatever, I just hang up the phone and smile and say, right, yeah, they're not coming back to me. You know, it's not, I don't take offense by it, but I get that. So I posted up one just 2 days ago. It's approximate 1,000 acres. It's 4,000 plus VAT, which is quite pricey, but considering you wouldn't be sharing that with anybody else. It's got red rowan sika on the ground and stuff like that. It's a really good bit of ground. I've stalked it many times myself. In fact, I've got a video on YouTube where I took a guest and I was stalking into hinds with her, and she shot her first deer. Now, it is a phenomenal property. I'm not gonna try and praise it, and I'm not going to use this to sell it. But the questions I get are unbelievable. And so I thought, well, as part of my content tonight, for at least 10 minutes or so, I will discuss what the ins and outs, maybe some of the secrets in regards, what you might not know about syndicates, woodland syndicates, whatever. So you're probably wondering why is this specky ginger guy sitting on a YouTube channel or sitting on a podcast telling me all these things? What experience does he have, right? Well, I've been managing syndicates for over 10 years. It's close to 15 years, I think. And I have been managing deer now for on and off since I was 18. Since I was younger, actually, probably. I can't really say I was managing deer when I was younger. I was being involved in deer management when I was a lot younger. But the fact of the matter is I've got a heck of a lot of experience in this. I deal with it every year. For 2 months of the year, that's pretty much what my sole responsibility is advising people and, excuse me, advising people and explaining to people and helping people in regards to syndicates, not just the ones that I manage it, but for other syndicates also. I spent on the phone the other day there to some guy I've never met before, never spoke to before, talking about he's got a contract, and I was just giving him the pitfalls and giving him like the things you have to watch out for when you take on a contract, and that was for commercial stalking. That's not for a syndicate place. Now, genuinely, syndicates come in a few forms. Mostly, it's a timeshare. That is it. You share a property with the lease owner, and you get to shoot deer on that over a set period of time. You know, usually a year, and you pay for that timeshare up front. Prices range from £500 plus VAT, because usually the companies are VAT registered, so they have to charge VAT. And then they can range up to £10,000 for a place, depending on the exclusivity and depending how many people on it. Now, our syndicates don't usually have more than maximum 5. Like, we have a couple of properties where there's only 3 members on it. We've got another property where we only ever put 1 member on it. So we tend to charge for a little bit higher depending on how many members and the size of the ground and what's on the ground. But what also dictates that price is what the landowner needs to get for that. There's also taxes involved. There's sporting taxes and various other taxes involved. There's legal fees in regards to setting up leases, and there's talking to lawyers. You can't just type up a lease and just hand that out. You have to make sure that what you have put in that lease is legally binding as well, because you could come out with any old nonsense that just wouldn't work on a lease. And we also you have to build a reputation to be available for those clients, and that you are taking on that are going to sign these leases. Now, usually these syndicates are recreational syndicates. So what you're talking about is that you go as and when you want. You don't really need. You're not really forced into in regards to hours. You're not really enforced to make any major call figures. There's no pressures on from the wood owners that are directed upon you. However, there are syndicates out there that require you to shoot a minimum amount of deer, that require you that you're only allowed to shoot one deer and keep it personal. All the rest have to go into a larder, and it's owned by the estate that you're taking your lease from. There's also other pressures that they can put on to you in regards to maintenance and things like that. And a lot of guys like that challenge because it gives them an idea of being their own gamekeeper, so looking after their own ground. But we don't manage our grounds like that. What we do is we basically give you the right to shoot deer, as many deer as you like, and then if you don't make the cull targets, which rarely syndicates fully make cull targets. Recreational stalkers, you don't expect them to make cull targets. That's why it's not the best way of managing deer numbers. So you go in and then you take what you have to get your cull numbers. Now, back in the days, that would have meant a lot of night license usage, a lot of work on the part of the management company to go out and shoot lots of deer and that, just to make cull figures and stuff. But these days, the woods that we manage, the syndicates usually make most of the cull target, and then we only have to shoot another 10 or 15 maximum to make it up, you know. So, and when we do that over a long period of time, then, or we do that over multiple properties, it sounds like that we shoot a heck of a lot of deer, but technically we're probably going to about 5 or 6 woods in a night. And yeah, we might come away with 30 deer on that night, but we might only be going to some woods and only shooting 2 deer or 3 deer or 4 deer. So it's not like this mass cull that everybody thinks it's all they're all about, you know. It's so there's a lot of propaganda and a lot of hidden things that people think, oh, this is what they're told. In fact, most of it is just to manage replants, make sure that we can keep the ground, because recreational stalkers, even this year, they're finding that they're losing their leases because they're not able to shoot the numbers that the landowner requires. Or the government requires, for that matter. And we're not going to go back into deer management nature restoration orders just yet. But I already discussed that in the first episode, that there is going to be requirements in the future to shoot minimum cull numbers. And those minimum cull numbers could be as much as 200 deer on 1,000 acres. And that gets very difficult. So in regards to the syndicates as such, it is quite a thing that you could get a bit kind of bamboozled with the whole thing and how it all works. For you as an individual coming in, and like, you might think that what we're charging at £4,000 for that lease for the year might be a lot just for you being on this 1,000 acres all by yourself. However, we probably pay £15,000 to £20,000 for that property, because we have other that owner might actually have other properties that we want to manage. So that's where we make our money off. We don't make any money off of the actual syndicate itself, or I don't make any money, but the management company would. They don't make any profits from the syndicate. They make the profits out of the other contracts that come along with the recreational stalking ground. So there is a big level to this, but then there's various types of syndicate throughout. And there's a lot of stupid questions. There's loads of questions. Like, if a recreational stalking syndicate, I'm going to make it clear, recreational stalking syndicate is not for you if you're looking to shoot 100 deer a year or 50 deer a year. If you think that shooting 30 deer a year is not enough, then you're looking for a contract. You're looking for, you're not looking for to enjoy a property. You're looking to kill deer. That's what it is. You might be thinking about the wrong hobby if you're expecting to go out and shoot 30, 40, 50 deer a year, because that's not what it's about. And that will, on my next subject, that's for tonight, which I'll roll into, and that's where I'll come into the hypocrisy of sorry, dying of thirst here. That's when we'll come into the hypocrisy of the behaviour and the attitude that seems to be throughout the whole shooting community right now. There is no consensus. And I see this through the syndicates. I see this through this new deer management nature restoration order, and SGA have come out turning around and saying that they are not even going to get involved in the consultation because the fact is they're completely against it. You know, it's not about opening an avenue of conversation or being there to oppose something. They're just saying we're not getting involved because we're against it. But that doesn't stop it. That doesn't stop legislation from happening. That means that they'll just cause problems for everybody by not being able to fight this. Because as soon as something becomes in law, then it makes it harder for companies like SGA or BASC or that to defend our sport or to defend our way of life, because they're allowing the law to happen. Not being involved in the consultation doesn't mean to say that nobody's going to be involved in the consultation. That's like having a vote and abstaining from, like being given a vote and you feel so strongly about this politician that you dislike them, so you decide not to vote for them, but you don't really like the other guys either who's going against them, so you just don't vote. Well, the majority is still going to vote that person in. It's the same with laws and same with various others. So you might not like the fact that something's going to happen, but if it's going to happen, because you're not going to have a voice against it, you're not being openly involved in trying to come to a compromise. You're just basically saying, I'm not getting involved in the consultation. And that's the impression I'm getting. And it's like the deer management side of things. And I've got guys on the other hand that want to shoot 30 or 40 deer a year. But then I've got guys on the other hand that going, oh, I think it's real. The same guys usually are saying, oh, I'm against the new legislation because of higher cull targets and stuff like that. But I've got a couple of guys coming up from down south who don't even stay in Scotland, who are land grabbing, and they're basically saying, oh, well, I'm shooting 500 deer a year between all the properties I've got. Well, mate, you're not recreational stalking. You're basically doing what the Scottish Government want you to do, and you're trying to capitalise on that. But you're also telling me that you're wanting a recreational stalking position. You want to take on one of our recreational stalking leases. And then on another sentence, you say, oh, I'm quite happy to come and do your contracts for you. Now, when I put a syndicate out, I'm not looking for somebody to come and shoot the deer. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not saying, look, we've got such a problem with deer, but we're going to sell the deer to you guys. I'm not asking for another contractor to come in and shoot all the deer. I'm asking for, if I'm giving an offer. I'm not asking for anything. I'm giving an offer out to give traditional stalkers a chance to shoot deer recreationally, so that they can make it part of their lifestyle, make it and enjoy what a number of us get paid to do, but enjoy it at a fraction of the cost of having to pay £1,000 a day to go and shoot one stag, at least and not even get the chance to even taste that stag. I'm giving an opportunity for other people to get into the business. I am not given an opportunity for one person to come round and saying, I've got 8,000 acres here, I've got 9,000 acres here. Oh, I notice you've got 1,000 acres up. How many deer do you expect for me to take off that a year? My reply is, I'm not expecting you to take nothing or as much as you want, but I'm also not expecting you to be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week shooting deer, because there'll be no more deer, because I know exactly what's going to happen. I put you on with your mate, and I am going to, in a year's time, there's going to be no bloody deer. So when I send somebody, they decide, oh, I'm not taking the lease this year. We shot 150 deer this year. There's no point taking it next year because I wouldn't get 150 deer off it. Well, yeah, that's because you shot them all. And now you've left me in a predicament where all the deer are gone and nobody else is going to take it on next year. And it's not future-proofing recreational stalking, is it? It's basically... Oh, and maybe I'm being a little bit hypocritical because I do manage deer in places to get them down to the lowest densities. But there is hypocrisy. Our community want to be for these nature restoration orders, meaning high cull targets, or they want to be for keeping a sustainable future for deer stalking in Scotland. And most of the people are in the middle and have no idea what the hell is going on. But you've got the guys who are voicing that, oh, we want sustainable stalking in the future because they're thinking about lining their pockets in the future. And we really don't care about nature recovery, but we also want to shoot a heck of a lot of deer because we've got a lot of bravado over how many deer we shoot a year. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, and becomes frustrating. So when I put out syndicate places, I tend to looking for guys who want to go out with a mate or a member of family. They want to go and get a chance of a deer, have a bit of a challenge stalking into a deer, spending a whole day just enjoying being out in the countryside with their rifle and with the potential of getting a deer. Not somebody who I know for a fact that will get frustrated because they've went out 3 times and only shot 4 deer. They want to shoot 500 deer or 100 deer. And that is not the type of person I'm looking for. I'm not looking for in my syndicate places contractors. I'm looking for recreational stalkers who want to push this business going forward for the future. So it is sustainable for you to get reasonable stalking and for me to get to make a business out of it and future-proof the business, but also manage the ground in such a way that it allows the landowners to see that this is a good way of managing the ground. Anyway, as I said, I didn't want this a platform to gripe at anybody because it's not a platform to gripe at anybody. I want it to be an enjoyable platform. I really do. I really think that we could build this podcast and make it an information-based podcast and an enjoyable podcast. I will be getting guests in. I will speak about all sorts of things. I'll try and get folk from Nature Scotland, people like that in the future to come and be on this podcast. But you've got to think about one thing, and this big thing at the moment is think about the future of deer management in Scotland and what your role is in this. Because if you're phoning me up for syndicate places and you want to shoot 100 deer, I'm sorry, I'm not even going to entertain it. I'll probably hang up and laugh. That's not what I expect. I expect guys who are genuine, who are nice, who will attend the wood when they can. You know, I'm not expecting them to be there 24 hours a day and shoot as many deer as they want, but have fun with it. Enjoy it. And actually enjoy this industry because it's tiresome otherwise. It really is. Anyway, guys, this is Davey T. I'm going to sign off for Field Sports Scotland tonight on Chatback. Again, another half an hour podcast. Hopefully I've given you a bit of information. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the podcasts on your usual Spotify, Google Play, all that sort of stuff. Once I can get all your support and get enough support in, then I can actually expand this and take it further and get some of you guys. I actually want to hear from you guys. I don't really care about celebrities. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear about the genuine recreational stalkers, pest controllers, ecologists, the whole works. I want to hear what your thoughts are. And let's have a dialogue. Let's have a conversation because that's what it's about. Anyway, good night. God bless. And hopefully I'll catch you next week. Speak to you soon.